Open up for questions.
Guys, it's been a couple of days now. How have you seen the guys, particularly on defense, I guess, in the locker room, kind of respond to everything that's happened this week?
Well, you're right. I mean, especially yesterday, I think everybody was trying to figure some things out. There's a lot of information, but I thought towards the end of the day, it picked up a little bit. And then today was much better practice. Much better practice, guys. Everybody has their own ways of dealing with things like that. It's, heartbreaking, again, for all the people involved. And I thought Rich did a great job addressing it yesterday. And, a lot of those things that took place there, I think you have that information from him.
Everybody has real lives. Real lives always going to be a part of a player's life and everything else. But, like, in the case like this, how much do you just say, hey, we're here for football? And how much do you balance, like, hey, let's take care of what's going on out there so they can help?
Right. Well, obviously, it's something that you talk to them about, and they talk to each other about. And I think it forces you to pause and just think decisions you make. I really feel like our team, well, I'm speaking on the defense, has really handled this very, very professionally. And our minds are professional as, a man who can get the job done or a woman who can get the job done no matter how he feels inside. And I think that's what's really been challenged. But, I think our guys have done a really good job with that. I really sensed it today, really sensed that part of it today. It's very focused, very, work-orientated practice today and a good, effective practice.
Obviously, the young guys.
Coach and before defensive coordinator, assistant coach, you've seen many different players, personalities. The wave of emotions over the last 3.5 weeks, from anger to sadness to confusion to now, have you ever seen anything like this before? And how do you lend your experience as a coach to be there for each and every player on the roster, offense or defense?
Right. Well, I think I said it before that players are very, very resilient. Is what I've learned. And I think this situation's no different. They each have their own way of handling it. Some will come in and talk to their position coaches and their teammates. And then they kind of go through that period of time. And I think it's just how quick, how long is that period of going through all those different emotions? How long does that take? And I think they needed a day just to kind of go through that, but how they've quickly recovered and kind of, all right, let's go. That professional word came back into it, and I've heard some of them talk about it that way. So they each help each other, and yeah, you're right. I think there's some very hard, strong feelings about what took place. And, they're dealing with it the best they can, but it's not a situation where I look at our team and I go, whoa, we've got some work to do to help pull everybody out of this. I think they're helping each other do that, and I think it was showed up today in practice.
Gus, when you look at their organization, they expect Cadarius Toney to play. I'm curious what you see from him on tape.
He's a guy that we really have great awareness, really have to have really good awareness. He's a guy that space tackling is a very important part of our game plan. Really good awareness where he is. He can take a 5-yard catch and turn it into an explosive play. So he's very, very explosive, and I'm sure they're going to try to find different ways of getting the ball in his hands. He's also a really good thrower. Can throw the ball. So we just have to have really good awareness where he's at.
You don't have to tell us any specifics, but what sort of conversations are had to where you can have an open dialogue with your players to say, if you're ever in a certain situation, the guy next to you is just a phone call away for help?
Yeah, I think, Rich, Coach Versace did a really good job addressing the whole team on that, even last week, to be honest with you. And that's why it's even more unfortunate. It was brought up and talked about, and then a situation like this occurs. But I think that's brought some thought to everybody on it. I think you pause and you think about the people involved. Unfortunate death, and then, Henry. And then I think you pause and also, boy, there's lessons for us to teach our kids and our family. And that's the string of emotions, I think, that you need a little bit of time just to go through. But, and then that we have a job to do. And that's what I really excited about the team on that aspect, because it is tough to come back, but they've shown their resiliency. They've shown their focus and how quickly they can recover. It's not gone. It is not gone, the feeling. But how they've addressed it and how their focus is in meetings and game or on the practice field has been really good.
But you talked about Cadarius Toney, but perhaps more than any other team, their skill guys have been different almost every week. They've had guys in and out of the lineup all year. How difficult is it to prepare for a team where, like, we think we know who might play, but you're not exactly sure which guys are going to be?
You're right, because, I mean, you go through everybody, you know, and you talk about their skill set, and, hey, we don't know who we're going to see, but let's just make sure we cover everybody and have a good understanding. So we try to take parts of the day and talk about their personnel, especially earlier in the week, and then, you know, we go from there. And then it kind of switches to more, it's about us, you know, and how we do things. So, you know, we've addressed it and say, hey, you got to be ready for anybody, you know, can show up. But it's the NFL, and we know that we're going to see real good players as they have shown.
Have you found yourself this year grateful for your head coaching experience and how to handle things?
I think you're grateful for all the experiences you had. I've never sat down and thought about that part of it. But I think you pause and say, you know, what can we do to, you know, show strength to those in need? And I think it's that base premise, you know. We've talked in our meeting room about hold people in high regard, give strength to those in need. Well, this is a time to give strength to those in need. And I think that's maybe part of what I've learned being a head coach.
Coach, everybody in the NFL is good no matter who you face, but with the amount of injuries they do have to their offense, is this something that you've had to preach to your guys to be more laser focused and not to lay up on these guys with injuries?
Well, they had injuries in the Carolina week and they won 25-3, you know, so it's the NFL. I think that they do a really good job offensively. I mean, this is the first time really had a chance to study the Giants in depth over the last 2 years since the new staff has been there, and to see them and some of the things they're doing with the quarterback and with their team. They are definitely trying to utilize the skill set of everybody and trying to get everybody involved. So that's in the run game and the pass game, multiple different things. It's not just a drop back team. I mean, they use movement passes, they use RPOs, and they're doing a lot of different things that puts a lot of strain on the defense.
Gus, you had a lot of guys that were nicked up, some healing, some just recently. How much of a blessing was the bye week just to get all your guys healthy?
It's been good. I think that when you come off a bye week, you know, to get them back into it, I give credit to our strength staff. I mean, sometimes you come back after, some periods of time off. You come back and you're a little bit cautious about that first day of practice. You see some hamstring injuries or, muscle tissues just because it's been some time since they've really practiced as a team. But we're pretty healthy now with the guys that we have, that could possibly be part of the 53.
Yes, you mentioned, the different things they've done back there on offense and specifically at quarterback. What have you seen out of Daniel Jones in terms of his ability to?
I really like him now. I think that you can see on tape that he's getting better and better. The decision making, I know that the turnovers are issues that, happen with all teams, and everybody wants to alleviate that part of it. But the decision making, the poise that he plays with, he's a threat to run. And, part of the bye week, we studied, some of the things that we need to get better at. Our explosive runs were high at the beginning of the season. They've calmed down some, but some of the explosive runs have been by quarterback scrambling and quarterback runs, and he's no different. Here we have another task where a guy's got over 200 yards rushing. So you put all that, he's definitely a threat that we have to understand and affect some of the things we do coverage-wise.
I know you said you just kind of cover everybody, that you prepare to do that, but Saquon does add such a different dynamic if he was able to play, especially in the passing game.
He does. It is, even his running style in some of the run plays. So, he's more of a jump cut runner. He can go downhill, but he can attack the edges real fast. So, that's the types of tape we show him, his ability. And then he's always a threat as a receiver. Some of the different things teams do with, him out of the backfield, or what we've seen, how teams try to attack us. We try to bring awareness to that with our players, that, how effective he is. He's a guy that will line up and empty, and it's, not just a hitch out there. They do different things with him. So awareness of him as an athlete and as a player, there's a lot of great respect for him in our room.
Gus, how uniquely, beneficial was it to not only be on your bye week, but then to turn on the TV Monday night and see your next two opponents going up against each other?
Yeah, I think, sometimes when you look at breakdowns, what games you put in. And so, obviously you try to look at the ones that you think will be most similar to how you play. But it was good. You could see it live, kind of see the whole game. I know our players got together and watched it together. And that's always cool when they have an opportunity to do that. So that part of it's been really good. I think it shifted our focus, especially after a bye week. Monday night where guys were together.
Guys all set?
Okay, thank you.
I'd like to start by saying, the entire Raiders organization's thoughts and prayers are with the family of Tina Tintor, are deeply saddened by this tragedy, and it's affected a number of people. A life's been taken, and we can't get it back. And just want to know our thoughts are with her family. And that'll start with questions.
Greg, what have these last couple of days been for you personally? I mean, these guys are players, but they're also human beings, and you got a relationship with them. So,
yeah, obviously a difficult week, and I think the older you get in life, the more you learn how to compartmentalize things. And certainly in the coaching profession, you have to learn to compartmentalize and understand that there's still a game to be played on Sunday. So that was a big part of this week is learning how to there's a lot of grieving going on. Players, coaches, everybody involved. So again, the biggest thing we'd say is they're a resilient group of players. I've always talked about a strong character group of guys that I've had a chance to work with the offensive side of the ball, and as hard as it was, they managed to get a good 2 days of work in.
Greg, you have a lot of young players on this team that maybe not have had as much time to go through some of those life experiences. How helpful has it been having you all as coaches and some of the veterans on the roster to lean on for them?
I think that's part of it. Those of us in the room, those of us that are parents, have children of our own, and dealt with experience or dealt with tragedy. We mentioned it with our group yesterday that some of us are lucky enough not to have been through a lot of tragedy in our lives, but those that have, it hardens you again, and you learn how to deal with it. So, we've offered counseling, obviously, to those players, to all of our players. But I think everyone manages it and deals with grief in their own way. But again, from what I witnessed this week, it was as difficult it was a good week of work.
Greg, Judge had said that with what they're going through back there, it's sort of preparing for the unknown. Your team sort of did that last year. There was 1 week where you didn't know how much of the offensive line was going to be there. Is it the same on this side though when you're facing a team that you don't know who they're going to have, that you're preparing for the unknown, or is it maybe easier because you just stick to your game plan and not worry about who they're going to have available?
I think we keep going. Last week, for instance, Darren Waller, we went up through Friday's practice, or 2 weeks ago before we played Philly. We went with Darren Waller on Friday's practice. He'd gotten nicked in practice, but initial reports from the training room were that he was going to be able to play, and we didn't know until Sunday, right before kickoff, when we went and worked him out, that he wasn't able to play. So there was a quick meeting between myself and Edgar Bennett and Austin King and Johnny Morton, where we had to, again, at that point, move a lot of the personnel groupings around. Edgar had to have an emergency meeting with the wide receivers now because Hunter Renfrow became a part of the package that Darren Waller was a part of. So I think they learned to kind of go on the fly. Again, we've got an extremely intelligent group of skilled players, and that helps. Obviously, when you start changing personnel groups, especially late in the week like we've done. So I think, sometimes the unknown is good for our guys. They've got, a large library of plays to choose from, and they know kind of the reason behind the plays in terms of the coverages and blitzes that we're trying to attack. I think understanding the intent of the play is important, and I think all those position groups understand the intent of what we're trying to do.
To piggyback on becoming a part of a package with the receiver situation, how does Zay Jones fit in as far as maybe expanding that playbook and maybe emerging just a bigger role?
Yeah, again, we always talk about opportunity, and it comes in a lot of different forms, and this is an opportunity for Zay, not the opportunity he was looking for, but we've always felt real strong about Zay Jones and his abilities as a receiver and abilities as to play the Z position. And he's had a very good week of practice, but he's had good weeks of practice, in the past. So if you were to talk to not only just Derek, but the rest of the players on offense. I'm talking every position, O-line, tight ends, running backs, quarterbacks. They've got all the confidence in the world in Zay, and we do as well as the staff. So, we're very, very thankful to have him, and we're eager to see what he can do.
As a coach, when it comes to the compartmentalization, do you find yourself really challenged not to be angry or disappointed from the big picture in what you're doing, just in the simple tasks with your guys?
Yeah, again, I think it goes back to being able to compartmentalize. And there is a time, again, like we said, a life was lost, and families, it's a tragedy for a number of families. But again, the Tenor family, it just can't fathom that. But I also know that Henry Ruggs is not a monster. Henry Ruggs is a good person that it made a succession of poor decisions that led to a horrific result. But a very popular player here. The guilt that you feel in the building, I think we'd be talking out of both sides of your mouth. We like to talk about this being a family. We're a family atmosphere here with this team. And your guilt of not knowing what maybe was going on when Henry left the building, or not being there to have somebody be the adult in the situation and stop those series of decisions from happening. And that's the guilt that you feel, as a coach and as a teammate. But again, we got to play on Sunday, and the players got to be ready to go, and we got to be ready to coach. So again, just find a way to compartmentalize it.
Vic reported earlier today that Dylan Stoner get promoted to the active roster. What have you seen from him since rookie minicamp, spanning throughout training camp, and then what he's worked with on the practice squad?
Who's that?
Dylan Stoner.
Oh yeah. We've liked Dylan Stoner from the minute that we signed him. So, and we evaluated him. Again, we sometimes we talk about as a coaching staff. This is the guy that the scouts brought to us, and he is who they said he was. So. We're excited. We were excited to keep him on our team and to not lose him, to be honest with you. So he's had a good week this week, but he's looked good on the practice squad leading up to this elevation. So it's an opportunity. Again, it's an opportunity for Dylan Stoner. He's put in a lot of hard work, and he's had a good week.
Greg, the Giants' defense is very talented, but their Achilles heel has been mental mistakes, errors on their part. Patrick Graham seems to have corrected that. Do you notice that on tape?
It's good. They're a good football team. We've noticed that. Obviously, they're a good football team. So we'll have our hands full on the road. An East Coast trip for us. It'd be a good crowd. Weather hopefully won't play a part in this, but you don't have to. You turn the tape on and realize this is a good football team, and we need to be ready, obviously. But would I say, have we seen a lot of mental mistakes on their end? No. We just see a good football team.
Anything more, guys? Okay.
Thank you.